Hey, tourpreneurs, it's Mitch Bach, and just a quick note before we begin today's episode. Tourpreneur is currently sponsored by Google. We're thankful for their support of our community, and we are offering with them a completely free course helping you unlock the power and potential of Google's Things to Do program, which is specifically helping tour operators add their tours to Google in new ways that gives you new exposure and more direct bookings. To learn more, go to tourpreneur.com/Google. And as always, show notes, more resources, links to our newsletter, our business coaching community, and so much more are available on tourpreneur.com. Now to the episode.
This episode of Tourpreneur is sponsored by RocketRez. RocketRez has everything a tour or attraction needs. Built for high volume, their cloud point of sale puts all your sales streams into one easy-to-use platform. Find out more at rocketrez.com/tourpreneur.
Welcome to the Tourpreneur podcast. Travel industry veteran Shane Whaley will take you on a journey with fellow tourpreneurs, sharing their tips, ideas, insights, and success stories to inspire you to make your tour business the best it can be. And now, here is your host, Shane Whaley.
And welcome to Tourpreneur episode 132. One of the biggest decisions we make for our tour businesses is what Peter Syme often calls the plumbing. Who do we pick to power our online bookings? There are many booking platforms out there, and it's hard to know which one is right for us. Very often when it comes to booking platforms, we don't know what we don't know. On today's Meet the Restech, we cut through the noise by chatting with booking platforms and with one of their customers. We usually include a tour operator who is shopping around, but unfortunately, Emily was called away at last minute and unable to join us today as we meet RocketRez, who were awarded Capterra's Best Ease of Use software for reservations. Making their debuts on Tourpreneur. I can't believe it's the first time he's coming on the show. It's Joe Robinson. Many of you know Joe. He is the Chief Growth Officer at RocketRez. He is an entrepreneurial and driven leader. He joined RocketRez as Chief Growth Officer in 2019 with strong roots in sales and marketing. Joe has excelled in the tourism and hospitality industry for over 10 years. Many of us know him through his work at Big Bus and also at Redeem. We're also joined on today's show by Kim Walk, who is the guest services manager at Whirlpool Jet Boat Tours. She's been a part of that family since 1998. She started as a bartender on the weekends to make extra money to pay school loans. And after one season, she was hooked. She moved on to a full-time position as the guest services manager and later added IT onto her job description. Welcome, both of you, to Tourpreneur.
Thank you. Yeah, good to see you, and thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Before we get into the conversation, Joe, I want to thank you publicly at RocketRez for being our sponsor for January. Quite simply, without sponsors such as RocketRez, there would be no Tourpreneur podcast. So really appreciate you supporting us. I know all our listeners are very grateful because we'd all miss our fix of Tourpreneur every week.
No, it's our pleasure. Yeah, we're a sponsor, but I'm also a fan. I wake up every morning at, I guess it's 6:45 my time. I know there's a brief coming in and I get excited to know what's going on. You do the work for us. I love that. I like knowing what's going on in the industry. I like having a pulse. And so you find a lot of great curated news that I never would find otherwise. So I'm a huge fan. And then I obviously love the podcasts. And it really, there's nothing like a long form getting to understand and listen in on what's going on in our industry, listening to small operators all the way up to some big operators and, just getting a closer pulse on our industry. I love it. So, big fan.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Kim, so you work at Whirlpool Jet Boat Tours. For anyone out there who's not familiar with your company, what exactly do you guys do and whereabouts are you based?
Yes, thank you. So we are a whitewater adventure tourism company. We offer whitewater adventure tours on the lower Niagara River. So it's like whitewater rafting, but the luxury is you don't have to do any of the work.
Nice.
So you get all the thrill and we'll take care of you. We are located in Niagara Falls, Ontario, and we also have a location in Lewiston, New York on the American side as well.
Excellent. You know, I'm a bit embarrassed to say this. I've been in the United States for 10 years and I still haven't made it to Niagara yet.
Oh, no.
That's a shame.
Yes, you have to. And
Sorry, but he lives in Vermont. He's not even that far. He could get there really closely. Am I right, Shane? I'm calling you out on this one.
I deserve it. You know, the other thing is I've been to 34 states, I believe it is, and I still haven't been to Maine, which is pretty much next door. But yeah, you know, I've been to New Mexico and Hawaii and all these places, but you know, I'll hopefully cross some of those off in summer. But on the list is definitely Niagara. I'd love to drive over there. And one of our other guests is the Buffalo Bike Tours. So I want to stop there and do the Buffalo Wings tour that he has by bike and then come across the Niagara. And I was watching the video and I urge everybody go to your website, Kim, and watch the video. I think you've done a great job with your promotional video of what you offer.
oh, thank you so much. We have a fantastic director of sales and marketing. She does a great job at putting our promotional materials together. And please let me know when you're in the area because word of mouth for us is paramount. And that's really what's propelled us over the years, is for sure.
Sure. I also liked on the video that you had options for those of us who want to get wet and those of us who want to stay dry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we just built a brand new dry boat to our fleet, which is a really impressive hybrid boat. So you can still stay dry in the back portion of the boat, but the front row seats are for the folks who want the slightly higher adventure of getting wet. And you get to watch them go through the rapids, and the expressions on the faces are just incredible. So it's actually the best of both worlds on our new hybrid boat.
Absolutely. You know, I used to work at Get Your Guide, and one of the sayings we had there was turn trips into amazing experiences. And this whole getting wet thing is really funny. My wife and I have been lucky enough to go to some wonderful places, but the one we will always crack up laughing about is at Universal. We went on Bluto's Bilge Barge, which is a wet water kind of
Oh,
you just
okay.
get soaked and people fire jets at you. And we have never laughed as much. There's something very funny about just getting soaking wet, right? Or seeing other people get soaking wet.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The expressions on the faces is part of the reason. And we have such a great rate of excitement and returning guests, and just watching their faces all the time. And especially on our most apprehensive guests, you know, the feat that they conquered it. It's just amazing. Amazing.
Well, you can definitely count me as a customer. I will be booking that ticket as soon as it's safe to do so and we can get over there.
Wonderful.
Joe, for our listeners who are not familiar with RocketRez, tell us a little bit more about your company.
Absolutely. So RocketRez is an all-in-one point of sale specifically for tours and attraction businesses. The all-in-one terminology, I think, it's really interesting because it can mean a lot of things and could mean different things to different people. But our vision for the software is that you can use one software kit for your entire tour, your entire attraction. So not just your online booking, but let's say you have a retail shop or you offer some cafe items or a full-scale restaurant. We have a full retail point of sale built into our system. We also have an inventory module, so you can track all your SKUs, right? We have a ton of great functionalities and features built into one cloud-based point of sale. So you can actually run your entire business and manage it on one platform. And quite honestly, it's kind of grown into that because we were noticing that after talking to customers, we were able to kind of grow into different pieces of their business, but they were purchasing 5, 6, 7 different software kits to actually run their business. They had a different CRM. They had a different retail kit. They had a online booking platform or system. And what we wanted to do was use one system.
And how long has RocketRez been around?
We launched in 2011 with Kim's business. Kim was our first customer and has been with us the whole way and is honestly part of the RocketRez history and our journey and part of our family at this point. There's a lot of love between Kim and her team and RocketRez. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And going back, what was the mission of RocketRez starting out? What did you guys want to achieve?
Well, I mean, if you go back to 2011, there really weren't that many booking platforms that could help sell tickets online. It just wasn't in existence. And there's still, I think now COVID has accelerated it, but there were still a lot of businesses not online in 2019. So in 2011, you can imagine there was almost no one. And so, Kim, you might have to correct me here. I think you and someone else at Whirlpool actually reached out to John or connected with John and said, hey, could you do something like this? And it started the conversation started organically. And then John realized, our founder and CEO, that there weren't that many booking platforms, if any at all at the time. And so the idea sparked from there, and it was to get tours and attractions online.
Kim, take us back to 2011. So what made you reach out to John? Did you have a connection with him? Did you know him?
Actually, John and I, our relationship goes back to about 2005 or 6, when we were using a software platform that wasn't available online at the time, but it was in-house. And it was one gentleman who was operating the system and who developed it for us and took care of it. And he wanted to be out of the business. I had just connected with a network architect who I still work with as well today. Jody is his name. And he mentioned to me that John may be able to help me. Jody worked with John in a different outfit at the time. And Jody connected us with John, and it was instant excitement because we were both on the same page. John had started out wanting to build something like this. I sort of helped him very organically, as you mentioned, just with letting him know what we had used, and it propelled from there.
So did you shop around at all at that time, or was it John was the only choice, or did you look around to see what else was out there?
I did look around a little bit to see what was out there, but for our business, and this will speak to a little bit of what Joe has mentioned already, we are very intricate. For a jet boating company where we just take people up and down the river, we are on both sides of the border, currency. We offer different trips in different locations at different times and that sort of thing. So we needed a very customized platform. And John and I had instant chemistry, I will say, in a working relationship to start building that together.
So all these years later, if there's one thing I know about our industry is that we get a lot of sales phone calls from other booking platforms. And I'm sure there are several out there that are calling you, Kim, to say, hey, leave RocketRez, come join us. What makes you stay with RocketRez? You know, almost 10 years later, what is it about RocketRez that you're like, there's no way I'm leaving to go anywhere else?
You know, I have to say, and I will say stereotypically, I had not come across somebody in the technical industry, for lack of a better term, that understood people so well. So I would say it's my relationship with John on a customer service level, and that John understands. John actually came to our location from Winnipeg to come out and see what we did because he wanted to have a better understanding. Remote wasn't good enough for him. And the fact that he wanted to understand his customer, he wanted to understand what you did, and he wanted to give you a product that worked for you. So he knew why he was doing it. And that relationship, and I have researched other outfits just to see if there's anything, and I haven't come across anything that's so customizable. And again, as Joe mentioned, that is an all-around software product that would be beneficial for our company. Just it doesn't exist as far as the research I have done.
Joe, from some of your customers you've spoken to, how do you feel that RocketRez has made life easier for them, tour operators and attractions?
The all-in-one thing is actually really useful and helpful. But what Kim mentioned was something that I just think it's intangible and it's cultural. And that is something that is really infused in RocketRez. So John's approach when he started the business was to truly get to know the operator. What are your personal pain points? What are your goals and visions? And how can we be your Yoda while you're Luke Skywalker, right? We are the guide that will help you. We'll give you software to get you where you want to be. And so that culture is now, we're a much larger company and there's a ton of us and we're growing. But I run the sales and marketing team. And before we actually will close a new operator to join RocketRez, we still do on-site sale visits because it's a very consultative process. We will fly out and meet with them, talk to them, and really, I want to see their operation. They walk us through the retail shop, the food outlets, all the pieces of the business that they're running. Because while you can talk over the phone and you can do a Zoom, touching it, smelling it, seeing it, experiencing it, going on the tour, going through the attraction, whatever it is, you now can actually feel like you're part of their organization as well. And then they start to open up and you see this kind of relationship forming. That's the intangible part. That's that last 10 yards that you just don't always get with a software platform that is, hey, this is the way you got to do it. And we're not going to customize at all. So that's sort of a culture. And quite honestly, what makes us different is we're willing and we have a platform that is customizable. It's very customizable to you. We go deep, right? One of the areas where we focus first and foremost is cost savings. So we'll look at your business, and if you're using a separate CRM or a separate retail system, we showcase what we can do using our all-in-one. You actually save costs over time. We actually are the kind of company that says no just as much as we say yes. So when we find there's a customer that may not be a great fit, we will actually direct them towards other software companies in our space. We'll happily do it. And I've had other companies who are the guys that are, or girls that are in the position of my position, I'll say, and I'll introduce them and they'll go, did you just hand us a customer? I go, yeah, we did, because you guys are better suited for them. And what's going to happen here is instead of saying yes and then having a frustrated tourpreneur or attraction operator, we're going to serve them better by doing that, right? So part of our sales process and throughout our business culture is to really go deep into their business challenges, understand them, and the entire team, the product team, knows every one of our customers' main challenges. We talk to them, what's your plans for the next year? How can we support those? It's a very hand-holding, supportive, consultative process with RocketRez.
So, because I know when this episode airs, you're probably going to get a deluge of people calling you because they want a demo, or obviously with COVID, you can't do site visits right now. But let me ask you this. What is your ideal customer at RocketRez? Who do you think that you best serve? Because you might get emails from people who run a small bike tour in Burlington, Vermont, and that might not be a good fit. So I just want to really make sure that we're on point with this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are really best suited for medium-sized to large-sized operators that have kind of scaled either to a multi-location and they need help managing those kind of the complex operation when you have 2 to 3 to 4 to 20 locations globally. And then those that have probably staff of around 25 or more, where you need help managing different, whether it's a tour operation, you have guides and you have drivers if there's a vehicle, or captains if there's a boat, right? Like we have a lot of tools built into our kit that help you manage your robust staff. We have companies on that have 1,200 employees using RocketRez on one location. And then we have some companies that have somewhere around 25 employees. So I'd say around that medium size to large size operator is a really good fit for us.
Sure. And at the end of this conversation, maybe we'll talk about some of your customers that our listeners can go and check out how that looks on the online booking side of things. Kim, how is it for you when you need to upload rates and availability, especially with 3 locations and 2 different currencies? What does that look like for you?
It's so easy. And John has evolved the setup. It was slightly complicated for us in the beginning, as you had mentioned, because we do offer not only just different currency, it's different taxes. Some charge it, some don't. It's all encompassing. So John listens. He wants to know why you need it. He wants to understand what's happening, and then he evolves it for you. So we have to set up, like you had mentioned, rates, locations, times. Even our schedules are different. So that we might run a schedule in Lewiston, New York, but we don't run the same thing in Niagara-on-the-Lake or Niagara Falls. Actually, sorry, we actually have 3 locations. Niagara-on-the-Lake's just not open right now due to COVID. Managing that is so easy, and just constantly updating to make the process easier and easier and easier over the years has been so helpful.
Sure. And how is RocketRez's customer support for you?
Amazing. It's funny, as RocketRez continues to grow, we have been in touch with different customer service representatives who are responsible for our account. And I know them all by name. They are amazing to talk to. They're helpful. They're kind. And, you can talk to them in layman's terms. They don't talk over your head. If they don't know, they tell you they don't know. But you know what? I'm going to find out for you. And you know what? In short order, they absolutely do. And we have our answers quickly, efficiently. And I'm really happy that John dealt with that, being a customer service representative myself, that he took that route to go. So not only building a great software platform, but again, and I know it sounds somewhat repetitive, that customer service aspect of it, it's paramount.
Are you tired of using 6 different software applications to run your operation? RocketRez, the all-in-one system for tours and attractions, combines the ease of online booking with all those other tools you wish you had to run your operation. Have retail? Use their built-in retail point of sale. Want to market to your customers? Use their built-in CRM. Offering private events? No problem. Send digital contracts right out of RocketRez. For Tourpreneur listeners, for a limited time, you can sign up for a demo in the next 30 days, and RocketRez will waive all setup fees. Visit rocketrez.com/Tourpreneur for more details. And now, back to today's episode of Tourpreneur. So with Gold Star customer service like that, and with pre-COVID site visits from the sales team, this is very, very expensive. So Joe, my question for you is, what is the payment structure, the pricing at RocketRez? How does that work?
It's consultative, right? So depending upon the size and scale of your operation, it can change. And so if you're doing some serious volume, like some of our large attractions, zoos and aquariums are doing, it's a different setup. And if they're using a larger portion of the modules, right, they're going to pay more. We look at a multitude of facets. It's not a one size fits all pricing model. It's how much of the system are you going to use? And this module costs that much. And so it starts around a 2.2% transaction fee and goes down with volume. So we're not in that kind of upper 5-6 range, none of that business. We're dealing with companies that are doing a lot of volume, and it just doesn't make sense to charge 5 and 6%. I mean, that's crazy. So, or the numbers get out of control really quickly when you do that times 6%. So the pricing can vary, and it's a conversation that we want to find that middle ground that everyone's really happy with. And then also, are there going to be some custom development projects? So we find that, when we're dealing with a helicopter company they have 8 locations, they have some different needs, and we're going to develop some really cool tools for them that may cost a little bit towards the end of their contracting. So I wish I could give you a really simple answer, but at the end of the day, it's a consultative sales process. And we find that we have never had any complaints that we're too expensive, or there's a really good feeling like we're getting what we pay for.
So it's a percentage based rather than a fee based, or do you offer both?
It is percentage based, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really pleasantly surprised during 2020. One of my first thoughts when COVID hit was, wow, Restech booking platforms that work on that percentage of bookings are going to really struggle, and it's going to be a bloodbath out there, and many are going to fall. To my knowledge, I've not really heard of many booking platforms that have gone under. So how are you surviving when there are no bookings or very few bookings being made right now?
Certainly when we realized, okay, this isn't a 3-month thing, this is here to stay, there was a moment of, okay, what do we need to look at from our business on cost savings? But quite honestly, the culture of our business, we were able to not let anybody go. We kept every single employee on our team. We made sure that they were very aware of what was going on. And, from a cash flow position, John is, I think, probably one of the smartest business people I've ever worked with. And so he never thought, gosh, what happens if a global pandemic comes? But he runs the organization on profitability. And so we weren't in a position where we were struggling, I guess. Struggling for sure. We were concerned for our operators mostly. We really wanted to make sure that everybody was going to be okay. What could we do to support you? So we got on the phone and we called all of our operators. We talked to them. We talked to their needs and how can we help run through this, and is there some financial stuff we can help with? And given that a lot of our companies are on a transactional model, if they're not transacting, they didn't have to pay. So If it went for years and years and years, I'm not sure that we would be in the same position. But some of the operations were able to open up. Here's a really cool one. So during COVID, while some of our operations and our customers were having to shut down because of state regulation, we also have a couple safari parks on our platform. And they quickly realized that this is a COVID-friendly product. And so with some quick pivoting on our product, we were able to make a 100% touchless experience for the customers of this safari park in Texas called Fossil Rim, which, by the way, is amazing. I got to go down there during our consultative sales process. Shane, you have to go to this place.
He's got a dream job, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got a dream job, this guy.
This is what I'm thinking now. I'm like,
no, you guys, I have to tell you, I didn't know what to expect, because there was a safari park where I grew up, and it was like this kind of small, and, you know, the llamas would walk up to your car, and it was cool. Don't get me wrong. And that's kind of what I was expecting. This place, it is unbelievable. It's a conservation wildlife center first. So they rehabilitate endangered species. So they partner with countries around the world who their species that's native to their ecosystem is actually about to go extinct. And there's 2 to 3 literal species left. They partner with Fossil Rim. And so they have a giant conservation center. And then they've rehabilitated some species. I think out of Fossil Rim, they have 5 or 6 species that they've actually brought back out of extinction at this one wildlife center. But at the same time, to make them to earn revenue, they do a drive-through safari park. It's 2 hours, and they've got hundreds of different amazing animals, and it's really wide open range. So they, they're not enclosed in a small space. It's just a phenomenal place. And so during COVID, we worked with customers to figure out if there was a way that they could open up. And Fossil Rim had record sales because they opened in COVID, and they were able to do a touchless experience, all time, scannable tickets with a kiosk at the gate. The gate opened up, like really cool stuff.
that's amazing.
It's interesting to hear that, because, I did get some emails towards the end of last year from listeners saying, hey, such and such Restech have said they've had, a best year ever. Should I switch to them? And I'm like, no, it's not your touring experience. It's, being outdoors or being on water. It's not, the Restech that's suddenly influencing that.
Correct.
But yeah. I can understand why operators were thinking that. Kim, what was 2020 like for you guys? How many months were you open from March, or were you open?
Yes. So we were able to open July 1st. We spent, just about 2 solid months putting our COVID policies and procedures together that were significant. And we're happy to say that although a typical season for us usually can bring in approximately 100,000 people across all of our locations, we were able to take about a third of that this year. But what we're most proud of is that, first of all, our guests trusted us to take them out on the water, which was amazing. And second of all, we did that safely and securely with no COVID cases. Our staff were safe. Our guests had a great time. We had to change up our protocol slightly. For example, our guests had to wear face shields when they were on the boat just to better protect them. So we took whitewater helmets. We had to get innovative, and we took whitewater helmets and put face shields on them. Yeah. So
This is great.
Yeah. And what you can take from that is that some of our guests with their feedback were like, I kind of like the helmets. So we're actually going to keep them and have them. It's not going to be mandatory. It is mandatory right now. But of course, once COVID has dissipated, fingers crossed, we will still have those on site. So for people maybe who don't want to go onto the covered boat, they want to be on the wet jet, but are a little apprehensive about the water in the face, or maybe it's cooler, they have the option to have the whitewater helmet with the face shield. So we're learning as we go as well. But 2020, it wasn't as great as far as numbers are concerned, but we had, again, the trust of our guests and the safety and security of our guests and our staff was an amazing feeling.
Sure. Glad you were able to salvage something in 2020.
Yes, thank you.
Joe, in terms of distribution channels, what does RocketRez offer there?
Yes, between our direct integrations and working through some channel managers, we have over 65 integrations of OTAs and resellers and marketplace platforms. So I mean, honestly, any of the top 20 to 50 that you would want to work with, I imagine are directly or integrated into RocketRez.
Is that something you take advantage of, Kim?
Yes. Just speaking to your point of working with Get Your Guide, in the past, Get Your Guide is one of our largest operators, as well as Expedia and Viator, just to name a few, and TripAdvisor, of course, they're one and the same. And it has changed our lives because we would have anywhere from 100, 200 emails coming in throughout the day from our operators, and it was all manual. So all of our guest services representatives had to make sure that we were getting in, but our live bookings were on fire and our trips were selling out like crazy. So our biggest thing, we didn't want to upset any of our guests, want to maintain that relationship. So having it go live for us is so user friendly for one, and we're able to put more business out. We had to lock down trip times in the past. We had to say, don't make our busiest trip times available because we know that they're going to sell out and we know that this is manual. Well, now it's live. And now I also have the opportunity, instead of giving our operators like guaranteed schedules, I would say, okay, you can book for 11, 3, and 4, because we know that those are trip times that, they may not sell out. So we'll be okay and we'll be able to manage that. Now I can know about all my trips. So I have all my trips, and I can say how many seats I want available on there. I can say, do I want them all available? I can manage it. I can time frame it. It's amazing. So extremely helpful, especially on the manpower. That was extremely helpful.
Great. Joe, I got some quick fire questions for you that our listeners sent in. I'll just pick a few for you. Can I manage my business on my smartphone or tablet when I'm out of the office using RocketRez?
Yes, on a tablet. Absolutely.
Can I improve my website with you, or will you help me build a new one?
Yes. Coming in February, we're launching a whole new website builder platform with templates all the way through to fully customizable and brandable websites.
Do you offer your own payment gateway, or can I keep my existing payment service provider?
Both. We have 5 that we're fully integrated with right now, but we also do have our own that you can utilize. So we make sure it's what works for your business and giving you the most competitive rates.
Can I create and distribute voucher and gift codes with RocketRez?
Oh, absolutely. Gift cards, gift codes, vouchers, all integrated into the system. Book online. Customer can go on your site, buy a gift for their friend, sends it to an email. I'll definitely use those gift cards at the retail as well as the tour experience, or at the cafe, or at the cafe on the boat. I mean, you bet.
How long will it take me to get set up and ready for online bookings should I decide to work with RocketRez? And what's the time frame for onboarding?
Good question. Because we go deep, we're not a 24-hour turnaround kind of company. We're a more month. The fastest we've done is 2 weeks. Because we actually dig in with you and understand your business problems, we line up all of your GL codes into our system. So every transaction can be GL coded to a different department. And then it makes it a lot easier to run your accounting and finance. So that kind of stuff takes a few weeks between the payment processing, setting up your GL codes in the system. But fastest we've ever done was 2 weeks. We did that with Governor's Island in New York City. And then, but we usually ask for 30 days.
Yeah. What are some of the customers that you work with that our listeners can go and check out their websites and see how the booking flow works? What are some notable customers of yours?
You absolutely have to go check out Kim's organization. And it is really one of the greatest and funnest experience. When you go, Shane, to Niagara, please make sure you connect with Kim because it's super fun. Yes. If you had fun on Bilbo's baggage ride or whatever.
Pluto's Bill's barge.
Bill's barge. Trust me, you're in for a real treat when you go on this one. From a wildlife perspective, I mentioned Fossil Rim earlier. They're one of my favorites just because it completely shocked me and surprised me. The level at which they're taking conservation seriously and giving back to the world and the environment just totally blew my world. So if you're ever in Dallas, Texas, please check out Fossil Rim. Check out their website. They're 100% online now. They don't even sell at their gate and point of sale anymore. So that's a really interesting model, from going to 90% at the gate to 100% online in 1 month. I would check out Extreme Experience. This is a really interesting business model. So these guys are based out of Chicago, but they have a fleet of supercars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Audis, things that you want to drive once, but you're maybe don't go by. They do a tour around the country and they'll do weekends at different racetracks. And you can use RocketRez's platform on their website, built directly into their website, to book an experience on Extreme Experience. And this is amazing for anyone that wants to. You can do a ride along, or you can actually drive the car. And so it's a complex organization. They had so many unique needs, and it was a perfect fit for RocketRez. So from that perspective, we have, I think from the more mammal experiences, we have Marine Land down in Florida. I would highly check out Nightly Spirits. Just went live with RocketRez, and they've got 25 locations across the U.S. They've just launched 2 wine tours, and so all on RocketRez. We're heavily in the boat space, and so that passenger vessel piece, a lot of them are closed right now just because it's winter and, it's Chicago and there's ice on the river. But, you could check out Wendella, Chicago Line Cruises. Even on our website, we showcase a lot of our customers. You could look at the case studies and things like that.
Yes, and I'll add all the links from today's episode. Everyone can find those at the show notes, tourpreneur.com/132. Kim, a final question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Sure.
But, we're all friends. And what is the one feature or function you wish RocketRez would offer that they don't currently?
Ooh, good one.
Oh, that is a good question. Oh, let me see.
What have you been bugging John for?
And if you give us a week, we'll have it done. So
yeah, well, that is true. That is true. And, that is such a great question. And I don't want to give the perfect answer by saying that anything just about, sometimes I've had to wait longer than other times that I've wanted, I've gotten. So right now we're working on integrating waivers, which is actually a really great platform for us, because as you can imagine, if we're seeing anywhere onwards and upwards of 1,000 to 1,500 people a day, we'd like to make that a little bit more automated. So that is something that I would like to have, and it is there. We're just making some tweaks as far as people being able to fill that. I'd like to have a seaming list that says, this person has filled it out. All of the fields are mandatory, and I don't even have to look. I can say John Brown has 5 people. All 5 people have filled out the waiver. I can see that on the system, and we can move forward. But it is in the works right now. And that's, again, I can't say enough about the customer service portion of it. Even things that I felt sort of silly about asking, and I was just trying to think of an example. And I've emailed either, Maddie or Haley, and I've said, what about this? And they're like, oh, good question. I don't know if we do that, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to get back to you. And if they do, I have it within couple weeks or so, depending on the complexity of it, of course.
Yeah.
For example, we operate a small 8-room inn as well. I mean, right. So speaking to Joe, and he's talking about all the GL codes and this is a full accounting system. My business manager, who is top-notch amazing at what she does, uses RocketRez for accounting. I mean, that it does it all for you. But I always wanted our little 8-room inn to be live and online, something that I had pushed John for. And of course it is. And now it's available, and I can have people booking just our little small 8-room inn, but I can have people doing that online. So anything that I've wanted, I've gotten, really, honestly. If it was doable and made sense, I got it. Yeah.
Brilliant. And Joe just promised you waivers in 1 week. So,
Good thing we already have them, but we're going to tweak it the way Kim needs it for sure. I wanted to say one more, because I thought of a customer as she was mentioning the waivers. Something popped in my mind, and we launched this inventory platform. It's in beta right now. So we've had inventory for all of our retail, but it just surprises you sometimes when you launch a product and you think and you talk to customers like, what do you need? What do you need? And then a customer comes back and uses it in a completely different way that you'd never even expected. And so that happened to us yesterday. We got an email from our customer down in Florida, and they're in our beta for our new advanced inventory system, right? Scanning all the SKUs and just doing purchase orders, all this kind of funky stuff. Well, they're an animal-based experience, and they have to manage and track and order food, and they were doing it all manually. And so their entire kind of zoo operation started using our inventory system to track shipments of their medicine, their veterinary teams were using RocketRez inventory. We had never, ever even expected that. It was such a cool note that we all shared around the company yesterday. Like, wow, we just never would have thought that. That's amazing. So it was a cool thing. And then the last thing I'll say real quick is if there's any listeners that are interested in what they've heard today, something that surprised us and we didn't even realize we could do is, since we have the retail point of sale and we are an online booking system as well, a few of our customers have actually gone online and put all of their retail just like Shopify online. And using RocketRez, you can do an online shopping cart, bundling retail and ticketing and tours and things like that. And so if you look at BB River Boats, they have their full online store using RocketRez, just their retail, as well as separate to that, their night tours and their boat tours and their dinner tours and things like that.
Great. Joe, before we wrap up here, you, as I said at the start of the show, have been in this industry a long time. You're very well respected. What advice would you give to tour operators out there before they start this search for a booking platform? So not, with respect to RocketRez, but just in general, what would you say to tour operators and attractions before they start their search?
Yeah, okay. I've been on both sides. You mentioned earlier I worked at Big Bus and I had a wonderful career and I really love that organization. I'm still very close with a lot of people over there. I ran the Big Bus Chicago and we had a ticketing system and I was less familiar. I was more operational. I was heads in. I had tour guides and drivers and I had 150 people that needed me to be the general manager. That's where my focus was. It wasn't on the technology. Now I'm on this side. And when we're talking to organizations through their needs, some organizations have really thought through what they need. They say, here's our requirements. Can you do this on a scale of 1 to 10? This is how important it is for us. I would highly recommend when you're looking for a solution, something to solve a problem, you have a problem in your business, think through those requirements and write them out. And what's interesting is it's not always a feature, Shane. Writing out a feature is helpful. It's actually if they write down the problem that they're having. I'm having this problem. And can I talk to you about that problem? And then do you have technology that solves that? Or can you build something that solves that problem? Features are just a nice way of saying a little widget that does a certain thing. But when we can talk problems, that's when we are actually solving real issues in our industry. That would be my best advice.
Yeah. Superb advice.
Mm-hmm.
Superb, because you can get all these features thrown at you, which all sound great, but really it's like, what do you need fixing? Good advice.
It's like getting splashed on like tons of water on Bilbo Baggins' ride in Orlando.
Exactly.
Features are flying at you all over the place. But we just want to know, what can we solve? What problems are you having right now? And then we can have a real conversation. Let's get to the root cause.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Kim, is there anything you want to share about working with RocketRez that we haven't discussed?
Honestly, it's just like I said, it's customer based. You really can get anything you want out of the program. Like Joe had mentioned, it'll do what you need it to do. It'll do things you didn't even think that you needed, and it'll do for you. And again, just like as Joe mentioned, I'm honored to be part of the RocketRez family. And as you had mentioned, Shane, as well, I have been approached by several different outfitters looking to make the change. And as Joe had mentioned, you can get sidetracked by the features. So I think that's also great advice. Like, check what are you having issues with and how can someone help you do that instead of losing yourself in what people are selling you. You know why you need it. And I think that's really important. And I'd like to say too, if anybody has any questions, they're also welcome to email me. I'm happy to help in any way. I'm not an employee of RocketRez. I do not get paid by RocketRez, but I am happy to help in any way because that's how much I think of the program and John and his company and all of the people that work there. So yeah, happy to help.
Marvelous. And thank you for sharing that on this show. It means so much of us listening in that you're being honest and authentic with your feedback.
Yes, thank you.
Joe, when I was doing some research on you for the show today, I read that you had spent some time in the Peace Corps.
I did. Yeah. Oh, wow. You dug.
Well, I'm like, here's Joe Robinson. You know, we meet each other at a few conferences and events, sadly not for a while. I'm like, I don't really know Joe's full story. So I would love to officially invite you back on to Tourpreneur. I want to start up the Tourpreneur profiles again, because there's so many people that we work with in the industry that have a backstory, like you do with the Peace Corps, for instance, and other things, that I would love just to have an hour. We'll have a coffee together. We'll chat about your journey.
Wow, that's very kind. Yeah, thank you so much. My time in Nicaragua in the Peace Corps is actually what set me through on my tourism path, I'd say.
Because you wrote a tourism plan, didn't you, when you were in the Peace Corps?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was in a small town, San Ramon in Matagalpa, Nicaragua, and said that all Nicaraguan.
That was perfect.
Yeah, you like
impressed.
that? Okay,
that was good. That was good.
Yeah, and it was this pristine, beautiful town that was just far enough away from a highway that you would never know of it unless someone marketed it. So going there, I partnered with an NGO, non-governmental organization, to go, let's bring some travelers here, because this place is phenomenal and it has a rich culture, and everyone's kind of skipping through from Guatemala straight into Costa Rica, and we can attract some visitors to see an authentic, real Nicaraguan village. So that's what we did.
Well, let's get a day on the books, and let's talk about your journey in travel. I'd love to share it.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I'd love to. Anytime, Shane.
Marvelous. Joe, Kim, thanks a million for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you, Shane. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for listening to the Tourpreneur podcast. Be sure to visit tourpreneur.com to join the conversation and access the show notes, including links to the resources mentioned on today's episode. This is Tourpreneur.